Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to this week's movie review of Zodiac, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., and Mark Ruffalo.
Dear editor, this is the murderer of the two teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July.
I want you to print this cipher on the front page of your paper.
I have two words for this movie: David Fincher. For those of you not familiar with his work, he directed the movies Fight Club and Seven. He has not directed a lot of movies, but he is a true Hollywood talent. The casting in this movie is just about perfect, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Robert Graysmith, Mark Ruffalo, who plays Inspector David Toshi, Anthony Edwards, who plays Inspector William Armstrong, and Robert Downey Jr., who plays Paul Avery. Also starring Brian Cox, John Carroll Lynch, Candy Clark, Elias Koteas, Dermot Mulroney, and Donald Logue. The acting in Zodiac is exceptional. All the actors are at the top of their game. It just goes to show what kind of respect Fincher must have in this industry. The casting, the acting in this film are about as good as it gets. Let me give you an example of what in my opinion is bad casting. I saw the movie Terminal a long time ago. They cast Tom Hanks as the leading role. He's a two-time Academy Award winner and a very respected actor. But the problem I had with this choice of Tom Hanks playing a leading role is that I felt if they'd chosen a little-known actor, I would have found the movie a lot more believable. Just because you land a big-name actor doesn't really mean he's the right actor for the role. The beauty of this film is that no one actor dominates the film. And for this film, no actor should. The plot of the Zodiac is very strong. In the title it says the movie is based on case files. I believe this means it's a lot more factual than ones that were inspired by true events. For those of you who watched the movie The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this was inspired by true events, which is most loosely of all. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was inspired by Ed Gein, who inspired movies such as Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. For the record, Ed Gein never had anything to do with the chainsaw, not in the least. How they could say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on anything is stretching it. So from what I gather, this movie should be fairly accurate to the actual story that took place in San Francisco in the late 60s and early 70s. The execution of this film is well on par with the casting, directing, and acting. You won't be disappointed. The only possible knock on this film in any way could be the length of the movie itself. It runs 2 hours and 40 minutes, but I'll tell you the movie is that good that it didn't bother me at all. I'm going to call out a few movie critics on this one. So if you ever read a review from a critic that complains about long running time on a good movie, you might want to rethink who you're getting your reviews from. I believe some of them are not as big of movie buffs as you may think. You have to remember that movie critics are writers that work for newspapers and other media outlets, and they're forced to do reviews on all movies. They do not pick and choose like I do. I don't have to do reviews on any movies. I only do reviews on movies that interest me. Don't get me wrong, there are movies that overstay their welcome, but this is not one of them. I'm very glad David Fincher has enough pull and respect where they didn't make him cut anything he didn't want to cut. One final note on this movie: this is not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Hostile type blood and guts movie. This movie is more of a factual-based view from the detective side rather than a view from the eyes of the Zodiac killer. So if you're looking for a gruesome horror film, this isn't it. This movie's for those who want to see the story from the investigator's side, not the killer. I was a bit concerned how they're going to end this movie. I know a little of the Zodiac story, not a lot. I wasn't sure how they're going to make this movie come full circle. I wasn't disappointed. I don't think you'll be either. I give this movie 5 stars.